All right, so this program is going to demonstrate land calculation. It says 1 acre of land is equivalent to 43,560 square feet. Write a program that calculates the number of acres in a tract of land with 389,767 square feet. Hint: divide the size of the tract of land by the size of an acre to get the number of acres. You will need to ask the user to enter the total number of square feet. Once you have the square feet, you will need to set the number of acres. You will need to get the number of acres. Okay, cool. So, again, what I like to do, when you're reading, circle the nouns, underline verbs. So land calculation's a thing, and that's likely going to be, that's what I'll name this thing. I'm just going to call it land calc. Sorry, it's hard to write, and this is small. So acre, acre, land. That's what it's going to be equal to, square feet. Write a program that calculates the number of acres in a tract of land. Okay, write, that's a verb. Program, so you're always going to see the word program. I can put it down as a noun, but you're not going to ever want to use it. You want to use words that you're going to use in your actual program. So square feet might be one. Calculate, that's you're always calculating something. So like write, you're always writing a program, so you're never going to use that as a verb. Calculate, yeah, you might. I'll show you how I deal with that. So it says the number of acres in a tract of land, land, acres. Again, there's your square feet. Divide, you're going to do something with divide. Tract of land. Sorry, divide is a verb. It should be underlined. You will need to ask the user to enter total number of square feet. Once you have the total number of square feet, set the total. Okay, so I think so what are we trying to do? We're, calculating the number of acres based on a total amount of square feet. Square feet. Okay. So, if I were to do my UML model, I would probably call this thing, I'll probably call it main land calculation. Main land calculation. I probably want to have tot square feet. I'm going to have like the acres and tot acres. So the acres is going to be that 43,560 square feet. The total square feet, this is what you're going to have to use to ask the user to enter in, and then this will be your calculation. So here's another thing. I am going to void get tot acres. Well, I'm going to pass in this square feet there, and I'm going to do an int. No, sorry, this should be set, and then I'm going to do a get tot acres, and this will return the total amount of acres once you do the calculation. And I'll show you what these are. I don't remember. I think C++ calls it this, but the set methods are going to be your mutator methods, where something changes, something's calculated, and the get are accessor methods. So you've got mutator and accessor methods. and mutate to change. There's something being changed in there, and they are void. They should be void. And these ones are accessors. They're just getting or returning information. Okay, and so I always break them up into the two different types of functions. So, yeah, so this is good. I'm going to close this, and then we're going to start writing this. So, open a project, create. We'll call it main land calculation. And again, for these first ones, I'll show you just how to write it in main, and we'll get the answer, and then I'll break it up with different functions and show you really more what it should look like. So using namespace std, let's see here. So we'll say something like, let me think here. Please enter the total amount of square feet of your plot of land. Now, we're going to do something with cin. Now, so cout, this is what outputs to the screen. Cin is what the user inputs. So they're going to input square feet, and there's an error there because we have to define int square feet that the user is going to enter. From there, we could say, and here's another thing that we got to define. We'll say, and actually let's make square feet a double. Let's just make these doubles. Double acre is going to equal 43,560. Let's see something. Double const. Yeah. So a constant means that I can't change this up. So later on, if I do, acre equals 10, should create an error. Yep. Because a constant value can't change. And they do that because, an acre is never going to change, or it probably hasn't changed in, I don't know, hundreds of years. I don't know the history behind where the acre got its value, but since it's not going to change, we can use this constant keyword. So then we've got all of our variables, or not yet. We still need to do what, and then we could do what, tote acres. So we could say tote acres is equal to square feet divided by an acre, and then cout total acres tote acres. So let's see here. So let's say I had, I don't know, 500,000 square feet divided by 43,000, it looks pretty good. I mean, I can check it with a calculator. Let's do it real quick just to prove that my math is right. So 500 divided by 43,560, 11, 4. Okay, cool. So that looks great. All right, so this is how a lot of you that have never programmed before would want to write this, okay? So you ask the user for their information. and then you calculate a value. All right, so I'm going through ways how to define your variables, how to assign them right here and here, and how to display them at the end. Okay, but really we want to break this thing up into different methods that do something. All right, so this is what we're going to set tote acres. So I'm going to say void tote acres, and I am going to pass in the double square feet. Okay, and let's do this. See. Let me think about this. And then I'm going to put this in here. Passed in square feet, tote acres. Let me think here for a second. Oh, whoops. You can't have a method the same name as a variable. So I am going to set the total acres. I'll pass in the square feet and divide that by an acre. And then I'll do an int get tote acres, and that will return the tote acres. And what am I going to do here? Now that is no longer set in main. I actually have to access that and get that here. So that's why I would say get tote acres and call that method. But first I want to be able to set tote acres. So set tote acres and pass in the square feet to this thing. So I asked the user enter the amount of square feet. They entered in this variable. I pass this variable into the setter method or the mutator method. It gets accepted here, and I run the calculation. Now, when I define my variables above my functions, the variables, they kind of become global variables that I can use in main and set and get. For instance, if I got rid of this here, and I said, let's say I said, well, I just want to do it right here, and I said double tote acres. That would work here, but because it's inside set tote acres, the get tote acres does not understand this tote acres variable, okay? And so when I define my variable above here, right there, then it can be used throughout the program, and each method can use this. So that's where it knows, that's where it knows that, and it will know acre right here. So acre is set up here, so it knows it. And so then it runs our calculation, and so it gets set in there, that variable gets set, and then when I get it right here, I call this function and it returns the total acres, okay? And so let's see if I run this, if I got it right, or do I got errors? So if I do 500,000, okay, cool. So 11.4784, and then I probably want to do, give it a good label at the end. So 500 is I add another 0, so that's 5 million. 5 million square feet, which that's probably right, but let's just go, since I already calculated the information. Let's go back and do it with 500,000 instead, just to make sure. I always want to be testing. Testing is actually probably the most important part of programming, and it's not really taught well at school. But yep, looks good. So anyway, go ahead and practice with this. This is where you kind of, again, I think I might be introducing functions and how to do that a little bit early. I mean, I showed you how to do everything in main first, but again, I like to think a little bit ahead and introduce you guys to functions. And to be honest with you, while the coding is still relatively really easy, it's better for me to throw new information at you so I don't overload you, because most programming books, they overload you too quick. In like the middle section of learning, like it's easy at first, and then they just dump everything at once on you. And I'd rather dump a little bit more on you when the information is easy, so you can kind of think through functions and what you're doing. But again, like, you know, setting the tote acres, that would be like a verb, right? And getting it would be a verb as well. And so you want to kind of think about, when you're reading through your programs, how can you break it up to where you're doing your calculations into like a setter mutator method and then getting the information back. Now, one thing is you can only return one variable at a time. So if you're setting multiple things, like let's say you set like multiple variables in here that you know you're going to want to get back into main, you can create separate getter methods that would return those variables back in here. So at first it seems like this is much harder, and it is. But as you get into more object-oriented and breaking this stuff up into the separate functions and worrying about objects, you'll actually never want to go back to procedural. I learned procedural at first, and object-oriented freaked me out, but now I would never go back. So anyway, this video is done.